Hi there and welcome back to the show. With me now is Shawn DeVree, who is the manager of our Horton's Farmers Market. Welcome to the show, Shawn.
Good to be here.
All right, so first of all, for people that don't know, tell us about the Horton Farmers Market and its history and how long it's been around.
Well, it's been located in the same spot, which is just off of Manitoba Street. It's called the Horton Street Market, but it's in between Horton and Manitoba Street, sort of behind our first layer of stores there on Talbot Street in the Giant Tiger type area. It's been there for about 130 years, believe it or not. It died down a bit in the 90s, and it stopped for a few years, but it's been back up in order now. This is the fourth season, I believe, since it reopened. And it's been growing exponentially since it reopened 4 years ago. For example, the first year it opened up with 10 vendors on market opening day, which is always the first weekend in May. And this year we opened with 39 vendors. So it's definitely exponentially growing.
Awesome, yeah. Great. And if somebody's looking to go to a farmer's market, how does that differ from a flea market, for example?
Large differences. The Horton Farmers Market is 100% producer-based, meaning everybody who's standing behind the table made the product or grew the product. So you're not going to get any middlemen at the market. If you have any questions about the food that you're buying or the products that you're buying, the person who actually made them is standing behind the table, so they can definitely answer all the questions. There's absolutely no reselling at the market, so you don't find any like home party type things. There's no flea market type atmosphere. There's no like junk sales or that kind of stuff. It's 100% producer-based.
Okay, great. And those producers, those vendors, tell us about the range of vendors that you have at the market.
We have all kinds of vendors. As part of the market mandate, we have to have 51% growers all the time. So at least half of the market is always like fruit and vegetable growers. And everything that is grown and sold there must be grown within 60 kilometers of the market site. So you're not going to find apples and bananas and lemons there, but you're going to find a plethora of what's available locally and in season at the market.
So you're talking about local food, and this is a big topic. A lot of people talk about being locavores and eating locally. So that 60-kilometer radius, what kind of things, you mentioned already, what kind of things aren't available?
Yep.
Give us an idea of what you can buy at the market.
Lots of stuff, from your meat and potatoes to pizzas. Believe it or not, there's a local maker of pizza who sells pizzas there. You can find, right now in season for this weekend is like sweet corns and that kind of stuff, and it's going to go into pumpkins and squashes, and melons are all coming up as well. We had cherries and blueberries and strawberries when they were in season. There's all kinds of great stuff, from like really interesting things like kohlrabi that you might not see everywhere that is grown locally, to arugula, to spinaches, to the things that are available from May to October, which is our season to be open.
I want to digress for 1 second. I don't know what kohlrabi is, so can you explain to me what that is?
Kohlrabi is like a root vegetable. It has I would say a cabbage-like leaf that comes off of it, but a lot of people eat both the leaf and it's sort of like a turnip type vegetable. It's an interesting flavor. And you can make it in a salad, you can steam it, you can fry it up in a stir fry, and it just adds another dimension.
All right.
To food. You've never heard of that.
I'll have to try that out. I have never heard of that.
In season right now.
All right, so you've mentioned a couple of things. You've talked about the word in season. A big thing we want to talk about also is eating seasonally. Talk about how eating seasonally with what's at the market versus what I could buy at the grocery store. How are those different?
Well, know your farmer, know your food. A big part of the Horton Farmers Market is that you can get to know how your food was grown and where it came from, and get to know the growers themselves, unlike your experience at the grocery store. For example, in strawberry season, all of our vendors that brought strawberries, and there were lots, grew those strawberries within 60 kilometers of the market site. Whereas even though it was strawberry season in Ontario, a lot of the local grocery stores still carried California strawberries. So, and you're not quite sure about nutrient density and et cetera, or how they were grown in California. And it's sad because sometimes it's cheaper to buy the ones that were made in California, but you can also find out from the grower how they were grown, what they were grown in, what their growing season is like, and you can buy flats of them if you find a grower that you like the particular berry, and you can freeze them for later. So that's the major difference between shopping at a grocery store and at the market.
So you've talked about there is a disadvantage in that it costs more. Are there any other disadvantages?
It doesn't always cost more.
Okay, well tell us about that.
It depends on what the item is. Many of our patrons will say that it's cheaper to shop at the market because the food was picked the day before. So there is no travel. Your arugula from Mick Smith's Organic Farms was picked on Thursday or Friday and refrigerated until market day. Unlike your lettuces that you find at the grocery store may have been shipped in from all over the place, and they may have been picked last week or even the week before and chemically preserved to look good until you ate it, until you bought it to eat. So a lot of people are reporting that the food lasts longer because they're buying it so fresh, and that's also a major advantage. And you can also get specials from the vendors, like you can get jam berries, for example, at the last part of the strawberry season, and they're a lower price, but they're meant for jam or for preserving or for freezing, so you can buy them in flats, for example, and you're going to get those a lot cheaper than you would have gotten at the supermarket. Plus they're local, so that's good.
Okay.
Local.
We've talked about local, and I want to touch on a topic. When people are trying to eat local, I'm curious, at the market, how do you handle the coffee situation?
Well, coffee is definitely not grown within 60 kilometers of the market site. So what we have chosen is to support local roasters of coffee. So for example, Farmgate brings coffee from Mountain View, which is an Ontario roaster, and they provide their coffee. And Spicers brings coffee from Las Chicas, and that's a roaster in London. That's about as close as local as we could get. At least it was produced, it was finished in London and surrounding area, as opposed to being shipped in from Nicaragua and all those other places where they grow coffee.
Okay, great. You mentioned when you were talking about the lettuces being shipped in that they are, chemicals put on them to make them look better. A lot of people don't know about that stuff. So obviously shopping at a farmer's market is going to improve your health in certain ways.
Absolutely. Even if it's not organic, if it's not certified organic, it's still going to improve your health because the apples aren't waxed, for example, to look pretty and not bruised. And they're not preserved in any way, shape, or form before they come to you. They're completely fresh. So most vendors are preparing for market on Thursday and Friday, so your food was in the dirt 2 days before you ate it. So that's pretty as fresh as you're going to get without having your own garden, that's for sure.
All right, and you also mentioned that things are flown in. So obviously we're making a bigger carbon footprint in that way too. Yep. So local, seasonal, using the farmer's market is good for the environment in that way too.
Absolutely. There are some vendors who come to the market that only have 5 kilometers from their farm to the market. So that's a pretty incredible, smaller carbon footprint than, say, buying your California strawberries, for sure.
Great. Why do you think there's been such a big push and trend towards farmers markets that are local and community oriented?
Well, I think a lot of people are starting to look at their health a lot more microscopically, like why are we getting sicker, why are our cancer rates up, why are people obese, and all these things. And it's obviously going back to our foods and the chemicals that we're putting into our bodies. So I know in my age group, I'm raising a young family, I started getting obsessive about label reading all the time and just not being happy with what I was reading on those labels, and realizing in order to avoid most of those words I couldn't pronounce, I had to consider whole foods most of the time. And learning about even whole foods, what's a better choice between organic and non-organic, and what is okay to eat that's not organic, like what's worse than what's, and balancing it all the time. And I think a lot of people are starting to get to know where their food is grown. They want to get to know their farmers, they want to ask them questions, and our farmers and our vendors love to answer your questions about how they grow it, and if they do use a chemical, why they use that chemical, and what that chemical has been tested with. And you can get all your information there rather than relying on sort of reading a label or just hoping that you're buying something that is all natural or preservative free or pesticide free or chemical free, and all those other terms that are sometimes used on non-organic products.
All right, and we've talked a lot about health and how it obviously, based on what you've just said, affects us as our bodies and our health. But how does the local farmers market have an impact on our economy here in St. Thomas?
Well, there was a study that showed that one vendor symbolized 5 local jobs or 5 jobs. So if you look at when we opened up again 4 years ago, we opened up with 10 vendors as opposed to opening up in 2011 with 39 vendors. You can see how exponentially it's definitely been a hub for employment incubation. Another great thing about the market is that it's been an incubator for small businesses. They've started off at the market and they've either grown their businesses that were local. For example, Farmgate was a small little shop on Wellington, and now they have a big, large shop on Elgin Street because of their involvement in markets and getting all their names out and all their information out. And Spicers, for example, had a small little booth, and now they have a store in St. Thomas as well. So it's been a good incubator for businesses as well, and for jobs.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
If people are interested in visiting the market or finding out more about the market, how can they contact the market?
We have a website, and it's hortonfarmersmarket.ca, and you can find my contact information there as well. And we're only open right now on Saturdays from 8 to 12. So
is there any potential for that changing in the future?
There's
maybe?
discussions on next season having it not close and having a full season market, or having an additional market day, so like a midweek market like a lot of the other farmers markets do.
Okay, some things to look forward to. Thanks so much for being with us today. Great information.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to check out our health and wellness action tip of the day. Check this out. Hi there, and welcome to today's health and wellness action tip. Today we're talking about organic food, local food, and whole foods. For today's tip, we're going to do what we did a couple of episodes ago, and I want you to increase your awareness level about what it is that you're putting into your body. And the first way you're going to do that is when you go to the grocery store and you're shopping for your fruits and vegetables, in the produce section, take a look at the little cards underneath each of the products and take a look at where did this product come from. Did it come from South America, or is it locally grown in Ontario? It'll give you an idea about what you're putting in your body, as each country where some of these fruits and vegetables come from has different rules about how they produce their products and what they put on them in terms of pesticides. The other thing that you can do is, if you want to eat more organic food or more local food, visit your local farmers market. The vendors there have really great information on organic food. You'll learn a ton, and you'll get some really great organic, tasty, yummy veggies and fruits. We'll see you next time for our next action tip.